Good day, everybody. It is now, what is it, the 4th of September? Yesterday when I was in Guy, um, I made a video about what was happening there in World War II. It was in late June of 1942 when Czech families were taken there from the Czech Republic into Belarus for some reason, and they were massacred by Nazis, which those happen to have been Ukrainian Nazis. As you know, at least whatever that part of Ukraine was at that time, they aligned themselves with Nazi Germany. But unbeknownst to me, on that very same day, at that very same time as I was there, there were massive protests in Prague. Estimates of between 70,000 and 100,000 people protesting in Prague about the high cost of living and the high energy costs and the stance that the Czech government has taken towards the Ukraine-Russia conflict. These protesters, they demand neutrality. They want the Czech Republic to be neutral, and that will bring down prices of gas. They can probably still buy Russian gas, Russian oil, Russian coal even, and the prices won't be so high. So of course, the Czech government, which is a coalition, of 5 parties. How does that work? 5 parties. How do 5 different political parties create an alliance? Which it's even difficult when it's 2. But if it's 2, you have to have a third that is anti, because there has to be some sort of opposition somewhere, or else any kind of government, when there is no opposition, they just do whatever they want. And even if it originally might be in the interests of the people, at times it turns out that it's not going to be, because there's no opposition to hold them on track. It's sort of like yin and yang. For good to exist, there has to be evil, and there has to be an opposition of some sorts. So 5 parties, it's just hard to believe. So anyway, these protesters, they were from all sides. They were from the far left and the far right and everything, and they were all protesting virtually the same thing. And one of the signs read is the best of everything for Ukraine, but 2 sweaters and cold showers for us. So they kind of are not really in favor of what is going on over there. It's just like Baerbock, she's also in the government in Germany, saying that she doesn't care what the German people want. She is going to do what Ukraine wants. And it's sort of like, who voted her into office? I think she's just in the wrong country. I think maybe Zelensky can use her. So I don't know. Very strange stuff. But that's how the world is working today. And I have a theory that a lot of these politicians, I sort of think a lot of them are compromised, such as, like I said, I was in an intelligence battalion in the 8th Infantry Division in the U.S. Army, and I've seen how a lot of things work. I've been in a lot of types of situations, and I had 7 years in the Army, and when I used to work in a different place, I actually learned more about how things work, because I worked directly for politicians, met heads of states. I suppose I can mention I did meet Ronald Reagan. I met Jack Kemp, John McCain. And it's not that I really even met them. I was only a corporal at the time, but I caught a lot of things. And a lot of high generals. I even was close to a lot of high military from Russia even at that time, because technically speaking, Russia was an ally of the United States at that time. It's just strange things going on. But even because of these protests, the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic says that Putin was masterminding the protests, that Putin is behind it, and these people that are demanding neutrality and lower prices are instruments of Putin. You just can't even believe this stuff. And then the European Union, of course, Ursula von der Leyen says that And a lot of these politicians are saying that Russia is using energy as a weapon against Europe. But if you start looking at anything, you don't even have to look that deep. It's the West is using everything as a weapon against Russia. It's the banking and finance, it's travel, even culture, tearing down all the statues and banning, Russian composers and just destroying the culture. And they even went as far, even long before this conflict, they were trying to say that Russia was on the side of Nazi Germany and they had nothing to do with defeating fascism in World War II. And of course they said that because that is the ultimate insult for these people. So for Belarusians, it should be even for Ukrainians, but it's like this whole world is what's going on right now. Ukrainians, maybe from the eastern side, because I don't think that they were supporting it, but the Western, of course, they were supporting fascism. And I yesterday on that video that I made, which this is gonna be connected with that. What I didn't say is you had this Bandera, and there was some cities where maybe they had 15,000 Jews and they wiped out 10,000 and they killed them all like within 3 days. And Bandera is on record as saying that he's going to send thousands of heads, decapitated heads, and lay them at the feet of Adolf Hitler. So, and yet Ukraine is saying that this was a great guy. And I'm not blaming the Ukrainian people, because any people can be brainwashed. Look at the Germans. They were brainwashed even in a shorter period of time. And a lot of these people that are brainwashed today in the Ukraine, it took them decades to be brainwashed. And I even alluded to the fact yesterday, but this, believe it or not, this whole brainwashing is an intelligence operation, and it's been going on. They're doing it in Belarus as I speak. They're doing it right now. They're trying to convince, and they have been successful convincing a lot of Belarusian, the youth, to hate Lukashenko. And they're coming up with these things like, I met one person and they said, well, Lukashenko says that you shouldn't necessarily be able to own a car if you're under 26. And is that even if he has that, he doesn't have a law that says you can't own a car, but even if he has that attitude, is that a reason to vote for the opposition, for the, and I have nothing against the opposition either, but she has no experience. She's been a housewife. That's her resume, housewife. And when these jackals from the West get a hold of her, I tell you, they're going to have a feast. They're going to take over Belarus like you have never seen. But there's a lot to say about what's going on in these conflicts, this conflict here. And this is a global conflict. And you can't forget, what's also there's so much going on right now, punishing all Russians that they're trying to make sure they cannot go to Europe because they were born in the wrong place, and maybe the wrong kind of blood is surging through their veins. It doesn't matter what their opinion is, it's incredible. And now they also getting together, and they're of this price cap on Russian oil, I guess shipbound Russian oil. And isn't it kind of strange, like say if you're in need of a product, say it's getting cold in winter and there's only one company that makes coats, and everybody's lining up to buy these coats, and you get up there and you tell this company, the coat cost $100, but I'm going to only give you $40 for it, and I'm going to tell my friends only to pay $40 for your coat. It makes you wonder how well that's going to work over. I guess that's called free market economics in the West, is you telling the seller what the seller is allowed to charge you. I don't, it's they're defying their own rules, but this is all interesting. It's interesting what is going on in the world. Hypocrisies, it's like we're living in some sort of a strange movie. And you just have to sit there. It's like a suspense movie and say, well, what's going to happen next? So let's find out. We might find out in the next days. I don't know when the vote is for this vote to demand Russia sells gas for what they want to pay for the gas. And what's this going to do for oil prices? And I don't think this is going to work out very well when you have for Europe. I'm sure it's not going to work out well. But let's just find out in what way. But think about it. These politicians, they're not going to suffer. They're not going to suffer one bit. It's going to be their people. You know? What was that thing? It said, your suffering is a price I'm willing to pay. So, it's incredible. Now they're telling the people in Europe that this winter they're going to have to wear 2 sweaters. You know, it wasn't very long ago when they were telling everybody they got to wear 2 masks. You know, I'm sure glad I'm living in Belarus when they came up with that you have to wear 2 masks to protect yourself from this virus that masks don't protect you from. Now, certainly the sweaters might protect you from the cold, but actually what they're telling you is you got to wear 2 sweaters to protect us from Putin. You know, I'm so glad I'm living in Belarus, you know. Actually, Belarus is more sane than Russia, but Russia and Belarus at least are on the same page. The page is called Sanity, and you go to Europe, you know, I just can't believe it. You know, nobody can believe it. Even look at all the vlogs. Look at all the vlogs on the internet, and nobody can believe what the crap that's coming out of all these politicians. And like I said, I think these people are compromised, you know. And I have my little theories, and I'm not saying that they're accurate, but wondering why are they doing this stuff? Is it like they hate their people? It's not really that, but I'll tell you what, they've probably got some other goals in mind. What they are, I don't even believe that, you know. But you can't find any other reason why they're doing all this crazy stuff to their own people, because if you know that there's so many people that were involved in whatever went on with the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and a lot of the testimonies and all that were cubbyhole disappeared. So I don't know, maybe it's easier for people to hide this information and testimonies, these what do you call whistleblowers. Maybe it's easier to hide it all now. As you know how things work, you know, if I was working a little bit in intelligence committees and stuff, and it's like you open up your mouth and we're not going to get you, we're just going to get your family members. So you never know what's happening right now and why they're doing all this crazy stuff. So let's just wait and see if something ever gets exposed. This area near Baranovichi, the name of this is called Forest Gai, G-A-I. And there's quite a history here. This is a significant part of history. I'll tell you about it. Good morning, everybody. It's the 3rd of September, 2022, and in the morning. And I'm in Baranovichi on the outskirts here. And I'm at a site where an atrocity happened in late June of 1942. These 3 stones that you may see in the background here, they're supposed to be symbolic of 3 generations. And if you understand any significance of that after I'm telling you that, you know, you're getting a lot farther than I am. But this site that I'm at right now was a site where Nazis brought family members of Czech families from the former Czechoslovakia, and they brought them here, shot them all dead, and massacred. It was 1,000 people approximately. Subsequent to that, they were bringing other people here and shooting them dead. I'm presuming maybe all Czech, and I don't know why they would take Czech people from Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia and bring them to Belarus to kill. But probably they were Jews, you know, because these Nazis, it was actually adherents of the Bandera ideology from Ukraine. The purpose of me telling you that is not to get you to hate Ukrainians, because this was just a group of Ukrainians, and most of them in the western part of Ukraine, because it's predominant there. It was this ideology of hatred towards Jews, hatred towards Russians, actually, even though they would tell you that it was communist. But it's a long story. You'd have to understand more about the personality of Stefan Bandera, and you can't really do that unless you've known him yourself. Actually, you can only understand so much. That how could this person attract people with this ideology? But I'll talk a little bit more about that. But here I'll show you the sites. This behind me is a monument. I believe this is called the Threshold of Life and Death. And let's see if I can show it a little bit better. These hands symbolize the fight against fascism and also a plea for life of these people that were brought here and shot dead. We'll go further here. As I said, this is in Baranovichi. It's a memorial, so I don't know if you could call a memorial a tourist site or a tourist attraction, because it's not any sort of a place that you come for laying in the sun or going swimming or anything like that. Very sad, and this has a lot of connections of what's going on today. And when you see what's if you see some of these places, such as all of these war memorials all throughout Russia, all throughout Belarus, and many, many, many places over here in Eastern Europe and Eurasia, it's because of all the lives that were lost in this fight against fascism. And if you go now, you know, to the other countries of Europe, you don't see this anymore. And they are exercising cancel culture, tearing down Soviet monuments and honoring those that died in this fight against fascism. Yeah, it's a very sad thing. And these were not Belarusian people, these are not Russian people. The people that died here were from Czechoslovakia, and Belarus, for example, maintains this site for the Czech people, you know, in honor for the sacrifice that they gave. And I'm presuming that most of these people were Jews as well, if not all of them, because that movement, for some reason, had a hatred of Jews. I think the ideology says that they blame Jews for the takeover of their country, and because of course Lenin was Jewish and a lot of people were Jewish, but a strange thing is right now Zelensky is Jewish, the backers of Zelensky are Jewish, and yet they are still holding this ideology. That doesn't make any sense. And I guess in Russian and in Czech, this is just saying it's a commemorative to this back behind me is a commemorative to the Czech people that died in this place. After it was liberated, and I believe this, I'll tell you, these monuments were put up in 1972, but after the liberation from Nazi rule, They found remains of more than 3,000 people. So this initial killing that was 1,000 Czechs was just the first. And there were thousands to come after that. And who knows? If you go digging around in the woods, you might even find more. But it's just sad right now because you see what's going on and what Russia is fighting against. They're not fighting against the Ukrainians. They're fighting against the ideology. That's why they're trying not to kill any innocent people. I don't think they want to kill anyone. You know, they want to find these nationalists, put them on trial, and maybe hold them responsible for what they did. You just can't express what humans would do to other humans and the reasons for that, for the blood that's in them. But nowadays, the new Jews are the Russians. And you can't say that you didn't see this coming long ago. And there are even elements of this if you go back early in history, like the year 12,005 or something like that. You see, I could get into that, but I shouldn't. And there's a big history about Stefan Bandera. But you have to also realize that at the time of these massacres, he was not here. He was in a comfortable luxury prison cell in Germany at that time. He was running these people here. That was like his headquarters. And the Germans were supporting that. And after World War II, the British ran Bandera. They were running operations here in Belarus and Russia. And at the same time, even though the United States never used Bandera himself, they used some of his adherents, and then there were splinter groups that splintered off from Bandera, and they had their own spy networks through those people. And as the British, so were the Americans running operations here, sometimes sabotage operations, and sometimes assassinations, and just mostly, of course, spy operations, gathering information. But the British, I believe, dropped that, and I think it was 1953. But the Americans, they kept these spy cells going, and they list this as staying in operation up till 1991. However, you cannot even believe that they, even if they had maybe even halted these operations for a short period of time, they had revived these. They could, I worked in intelligence, so they probably got these people reinstated, and they kept these operations going. So, and they're probably still going to this very day. And if you see what's happening right now in Ukraine, you can't deny that this didn't happen. And as this ideology flourished, it flourished at some point in time, maybe even 1991, maybe even long before that, and maybe just continuously. So they created a lot more of these people, and that's why we have this problem today between Ukraine and Russia. But anyway, there's a lot of history, and I don't know all of this, but I could tell you a lot of these points, and I could go on for a long time, and all of the points that I would be telling you would be true and they would be relevant. And there will be people that refute this, probably from the West now. But history's already been written, but a lot of this you won't find in the internet because it's already been skewered. You might find this in older history books. And just because it was written a long time ago does not mean it's not true, because we've all heard of cancel culture. And You should also know the expression that goes, "The winners write history." And what did Napoleon say? History is nothing more than lies agreed upon. But you can apply all of these phrases, and when you do, you can start getting a little bit more accurate knowledge, or at least a sense of how things actually do work in the world. So, something to think about. Have a good day.